First step to every ride from the first day that you're ever riding a horse is always connecting the horse to your seat, connecting the horse to your body. The movement and the changes in your body mean something. Our hand, the bridle, that's an extension of the balance in our seat, right? How do we change our seat? We adjust balance. We open doors, we return to balance. So like every piece of equipment in the California system, we want a strong neutral position. I try to create a seat. I tried to adapt my body to work the way that all the equipment works, the way the Hackamore works, the way a bridle works. It has a very, very solid and steady neutral position, but it has a lot of signal. When it gets moved, it's easy for them to follow. It's not frightening to the horse, it's just there for them, supports them. And so each movement, I may open the door, but as soon as that horse starts to go through that door, then I try to have to go with him. And so finding that in the seat, and I just get on the horse and I'll start just kind of playing with that. Of course, the forward back one is real important. So coming down and getting round and having the horse come into us here, right? And then going up, pushing from underneath to the bridle, right? And I'll know that this is engaging because the pole will come up. If the pole doesn't come up, if the neck goes down, then I'm pulling the horse's head down. So that's one of those things that's pretty easy to tell, right? So if I'm pulling the horse, he's going to drop his, if I pull on this horse, he's going to drop his neck down, you see? And so it's not going to be the same as if I'm lifting him and encouraging his butt to come into my hand. Then, because the energy is coming from there and he's reaching further up, he's going to lift, right? If this pushes forward, the hind end pushes forward, the front's going to lift. If the front comes down and goes lower, that means the front end's dropping and the hind end's going behind. And that's, where a lot of people get confused with headset or collection, gather. If these hind feet are reaching up, that pole is going to lift, right? And so I'll kind of play with those little spots, right? I want to be able to kind of to rock. It's like a tiny little swing in my seat on that balance point. I want to find that balance point in the horse, right? So here, if I lift up on this side, it drops into my sit bone on the right. If I drop over here, it drops into my sit bone on the left. As soon as the horse starts going, I just get right back in the center and try to go with him. And so just finding these little places, right? If I kind of relax and everything just gets kind of casual, the horse does too. Getting the horse to follow your balance, right? And it doesn't mean much if you're just poking along, but once you get to the point where collection is necessary, see, I'll draw that horse into me, send him away. Draw the horse into me, rock him back into me, open a door for him to go through, and allow him to go through there. Not force him through. Try not to force him through. And I say try not to because I always end up forcing him through a little bit. That's one of my difficulties. But the faster you try to make it happen, the more bound up the horse gets and the slower it'll get. So I'd rather just make sure I've got the horse set up, right? And that might just be that he needs to go a little bit. He's got a lot of energy, just got on him or whatever. And so I've got to wait and kind of let him warm up. But this sit bone thing, getting him connected to my seat and my hands are connected to my body as well. Connected to my core. I say my seat, but it's my whole core, right? So if I'm opening a door on one side and then I come back to the middle and I go with it, I can create just about anything I want, shaping the horse to the middle, not pulling his head here or there, right? And so if I create a shape, say with my inside leg here, and then I open that door, once he looks, all I need him to do is move his rib out of the way, right there. He doesn't have to really bend his head over there. He just needs to move his rib to the outside, and then all I have to do is shift to my outside sit bone, and he should just fly through there. So I want to be able to kind of walk him along with my seat, right? With my core, right? And I may just get to that point and I just kind of hold my hand and lift my hand up here and say, no, that's as far as I want to go forward. Let's walk it up higher, right? And I want him to get to that point and kind of release me. And so I don't want to push him to the point where he's jumping over my hand, but I want to push him to the point where he's definitely powering off his hind end. And so I'll play with that a little bit. Then I'll break it up, get him thinking about staying with me. As soon as I relax my core, the horse relaxes. The horse follows your core. If I come up and I power up, here we go. Right? If I come back and relax, I may only relax for a moment, bringing him in, and then I'll come back up. And then I relax again. I'll come back in, draw the horse, lift up, give the horse a little energy, and go through. And then I may keep him gathered up or not. I may expand out and then be able to draw him back in. I want to be able to throw my horse loose and not have him just leave and then gather him back up again. Because I can't hold him because we're doing real jobs in real country a lot of times. But developing this, you're going to be pretty damn close. Pretty damn close and pretty consistent, right? What you have to do is not push the horse past your, all this stuff is not very good for creating force. And so, but it's great for creating balance. So I want to push him to a balance, not only to the bridle, the balance of the bridle, but creating a different balance in his body, a more compact, engaged balance, right? And so I'll push him up to that point a lot, and they'll get a little bit hyper sometimes, get a little dancy, and then I'll just relax my core a little bit, bring it down, and then maybe I'll bring it back up. Because I want him hair trigger on my butt, whether it's up or down. Because that's what you need when you're working cows and stuff. The horse has to stay balanced, can't be throwing itself here or there, and it needs to move off your butt. You can spur them and do other things, and sometimes I'm not saying I won't do that, but I'd rather have them doing this because then they stay calm. If I really get after him and go fast, he's going to reel out, and then I'm going to have to bring him in a long ways. Where I'd rather be able to do it real quick, come out. You can see, as soon as he starts getting too far away, I got to gather so much horse back, and that's really, really apparent. On a horse that's 17.3, 1,700 pounds. It's not so much on a 15-hand quarter horse, but on these big guys, you've got to keep them closer. Otherwise, they get so sprawled out. But as soon as you quit doing that, as soon as you change your seat, you want the horse to change with him. And so, right from the beginning in the Hackamore, when we're starting them, we just get them to follow you know, our bodies. This is just an extension of my body. So if I lift the rib here, it lifts that rein, doesn't it? Right? If I come back, it catches this rein. So whatever I touch, if I get round, it lifts that rein up. I'm going to draw it into me and keep my back to where it gives him a place to go. If I push forward, right, I'm going to push him to the balance of the hackamore, to the balance of the bit. I'm going to push him up there so the power comes from behind. And I can hold that power up and say, don't go, don't go yet, don't go yet, don't go yet. I'm going to push him right to the edge so that I can catch him at any moment. This horse, then release it a little bit, right? I want to be able to create that. This horse is just learning that. And that takes a lot of strength. And so I don't want bits with a lot of power, and I don't want to back my horse off of it, because he needs to be able to be pushed to that point so that he can follow that rhythm. Because it's not what my hand does, it's what my core does, right? And I don't want to, he doesn't even like it if you use too much leg on him. So I'll play around and push him up into that place a little bit. And sometimes it's not pretty, it's not even great, but it starts to get him to where, and then I relax and I go back to suppling. So if I push to a point where I feel like everything just got really hard and doesn't have any feel to it anymore, I just go back and go suppling again. Don't push him past the point. And that's the beauty of this gear, is that there's a balance point where it gets really, really cool when they're right. And it just kind of floats. Everything floats. It doesn't have a lot of force, so you can push them to it. It doesn't scare them to push them to the bridle, so to speak, right? And because it has a lot of area, it kind of creates a nice wall, but it's a flexible wall. It's something that's not like biting them when they hit the wall. It just kind of supports them. Creates a lot of support for the horse, so that gives you something to push through to that's not, that the horse can go to, feels like it can go to without getting worried about it, right? Because if they get worried, if they get hurt by that front wall, or you back them off that front wall, then they're going to get tense when you push them to it. And so I don't want that to happen. This horse is gigantic, so I always just kind of play with it a little bit, and then we ride around on the trail a lot. But I know it's probably going to take another 2 years or so before he's really, really strong, what I'm looking for. But he's getting there a little bit at a time. What I try to do is not just keep his good attitude for when he does it, right? And always say, yep, when he comes into that place, you go, yeah, that's it. And that's finding your neutral spot in yourself, right? So be in the neutral spot and try to coax that horse to finding it and staying in it as long as he can. It takes strength to balance himself in that neutral spot. And so, little bits at a time. You want to be able to push that horse to that spot, have him release to the balances of the bit or the hackamore or whatever you're riding, and then we'll let it float, right? So have the power come from behind to the front. It's not pulling back to set his head. It's just setting a wall, and a flexible wall at that, because it goes with your core, right? So if this horse gets really jumpy, what do I do to change it? I just change my core, right? I just quit pushing him to the wall. And that's the beauty of it, right? And I want to do that to where I really practice pushing the horse up to that place where, it comes up and you're right there, and then coming right back down and relaxing so that he knows, okay, look, if he changes his seat from this driving and pushing up from my ass, from my hind end, that it's right here, it's cool. We no longer have to be worried about it. So that's why I don't like, you see a lot of people kind of whip a horse up into that place, or I don't like that because I don't feel it's sustainable, and it creates a horse that when you're really working cows or something, they get nervous and they get twitchy. And I don't want a twitchy horse. I want something that goes when I move it. When I open the door, it just goes through it. Smooth, right? I care way more about how a horse is just smooth and balanced than it is fast. It will get there. And if he's smooth and balanced, he's not going to get cows ripping through a gate and stuff anyway. He'll just be there, and the cows will stay calmer. Everything, people will stay calmer. It'll just be a smoother deal. It's a smoothness is super important to me. I'm kind of rambling, but that's the way I ride. So, but a lot of people get so confused about this bridle horse stuff, and it's like, it's not about pulling. In fact, you see that bit, it doesn't pull. But this is hard work for a horse, to really be gathered up and really, because we're changing their posture, you see? So he has to be able to maintain that framework. It takes a certain amount of strength. And then when it goes from here, I want him to be able to hang in there, right? He's not going to be able to hang in there without quite a bit of help from me until he's really strong. And that's a lot harder than just, set one up and letting it go. It takes a lot to not make it hard, and it takes a lot to not make them, too worried about it. So little bits at a time. And I'm always trying to set it up to where, if I put that hip in, hold the shoulder up, it's so easy to get your departures, right? And from there, it's also easy to set up your lead changes, right? That horse will stay with you. You come in there, I don't have a lot of room for changes here. Little by little, I'll learn to stay with your seat and really become fluid about that. Kind of fun stuff to do, and just some stuff to think about. Hope you all have a good day. Stay balanced.